Good morning. Welcome to Community Voice. I'm your host, Keith Parris. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. Good morning, Debo.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jermaine. Good morning,
Good
Clark.
morning, sir. I don't think he has it.
He's not over there.
Okay.
He is, but he isn't. Michelle's over there now.
All right. Welcome to the program. And so what's today? Wednesday?
That it is.
Last time I checked.
The
Or
5th,
is it really Wednesday?
5th of November, 2025. Are we certain that it's that?
Hey, I mean, they setting times and stuff back. Ain't no telling what else they changing.
They.
Those peoples.
The whole world.
Yeah.
No, just the United
So,
States.
man, yeah. So you mean to tell me that this time change happened because one person wanted more daylight?
Yeah, man. Come on, Jermaine. Some people got juice, man.
I see. Yeah, he got more than juice.
Yeah.
He said, you got more than juice to have the whole world fall in line with that because you want more daylight. You don't want to go to sleep.
Let me, hopefully this shutdown is going to be resolved soon.
Yeah.
But let me just shout out all the people who are stepping up,
Yeah.
standing in the breach. I don't know if I mentioned yesterday, I was going to Tetonia and I was by the Islamic Center, and I saw that, and they've been doing this on
I
a
seen it too. Yeah.
consistent basis
Yeah.
in terms of providing food
Yeah.
for folks. Here's the reality: we shouldn't be in a situation where we have to do it. I know we're supposed to do it, but it says a whole lot about politics.
Yeah.
And um, I know Trump said he wasn't on the ballot yesterday, but he really was.
He
on the
really
ballot
was. Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
And let
Yeah.
me, my Dami, let me. I know people like to put us in labels, put us like in our little labels, and you're this and you're that, and it's real easy to kind of pigeonhole people, and then you can use a term like socialist. And even though America benefits from socialism, we don't. I mean, they used to call parts of our socialism the welfare state, right? But it's one of the things that society should do. The Social Security Act, part of that was coming off of World War II, and and actually the real fear of communism getting a foothold in this country. FDR was smart enough to say, you know what, we got to put people back to work. And if we don't put people back to work, what you're going to begin to have is insurrection, because hunger causes revolution, right? It's not Jermaine and I sitting in an ivory tower, sitting there coming up with all these, hey man, this is about the revolution. There were people like Stokely Carmichael and all those folks who were talking about black power and the whole thing, but it was the on the street brother in Watts, the only street brothers who were, as Dr. King said, that riots are the language of the unheard, people who really went out and acted on it. Who was it? Reverend Al Sharpton was talking about Martin Luther King compared to Malcolm. And he made this comparison, and I think that it was something that Abby Phillip has just wrote a book on Jesse Jackson. The difference between Malcolm and Martin, well, there were a lot of differences, but one of the things was Martin was in harm's way. I mean, he was in the belly of the beast, right? He was in the cauldron. So when you were down in the South and death threats on a regular, Malcolm had death threats, but it was kind of at the end. But Dr. King constantly lived from the beginning, from Montgomery to Memphis. He was constantly under death threats. And so the difference was that Martin was really where it was happening, right? And there was an instance out in Los Angeles when these brothers were shot in a confrontation with the police and the Nation of Islam. And Malcolm really wanted to act. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, no, fall back. But Martin was there. Martin did that nonviolence resistance where there was violent resistance to his nonviolent resistance. And so there is the difference. So the people who put themselves in harm's way every day, it's a little bit, maybe not as is different now. I don't know. I guess we should be worried about political assassinations, but there's so many other ways that opposition can go after you. Obviously, they can sully your reputation. They can cut off your means of financial material support. And the question becomes, how strongly are you committed to that cause? And there's one thing when I sit here and we're just waxing theoretically and philosophically and theologically, and we sit here and we do all of that. But then there's also the people out there who really putting the boots on the ground and putting themselves in harm's way. So we celebrate that. We acknowledge that, but we understand the difficulty of the struggle, and the struggle continues. Caller, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm coming to you as a reverend to reverend. This is the Reverend Dr. Andrew Ward. The point I want to make is there are many, many gods and religions, and your religion probably espouses this point that I disagree with. There's one God. There are several gods, and everybody's God does for them what your God does for you. And hardly any religion goes strictly by what they espouse. Like all religions that I know of, love your brother, thou shalt not kill, steal, and all of that. But who keeps with that? Then you take these Christian fanatics on the Republican side. What do? Do they follow this Bible? Whichever Bible they might be reading or making up and misinterpreting. For example, woke is made to be bad. Black Lives Matter is made to be bad. DEI is bad. And they use those acronyms to fool the masses, and it works. I want all of you to give Donald Trump, y'all's president, the credit for the election yesterday, because he was the bottom line on that election. Y'all have a good one.
All right, appreciate you. You know, the fact that Donald Trump, he reads the polls. So people think he does not read the polls. He reads the polls. He knew that what's her name, Winsome, see her, the woman the Republican who ran for governor in Virginia, was way behind. There was no question that Spanberger was going to win, and the question was how much and where. He goes out to support everybody, but he does not call out this woman's name, right? Because one, he figures she's going to lose, but two, it says something about his misogyny and his racism. Michelle brought up a real good point, and it was because when she started talking about this morning, I thought it was ironic because I was thinking last night that the Republican Party at this point does not need black folks. The Republican Party does not need black folks. I think the Republican Party has run this whole MAGA movement where there's this nativism and things like DEI and all these things. Anything that women might benefit from, black people might benefit from, brown people might benefit from, the Republican Party is really down to make sure that black folks don't, and brown folks and women and gays don't benefit from it, that whole other. But you know, sometimes the ditches that you dig for others is the ditch that you'll fall into.
Yep.
Right. And so they created, because look, what did they appeal to? You know, everyone said it was the economy. And I don't, and I do not believe that had Donald Trump, had he been president from 20 to 2024, 21 to 2024, and everything that went along with having to fix the world basically because of COVID, that he would have been up for the task. And I don't think that if that was his first term, people were going to vote him in. They voted him out after his first term. How people have this amnesia where it's, look at the man's history. The history has been a failed businessman who doesn't pay his bills, you know, who would cut all kind of corners, you know, and so then people going like, well, he's a businessman. Well, yeah, but the receipts are not adding up.
Yeah,
You know, so
yeah, and what he did, Keith, and I actually just said this in the last hour. What he did was he ran off of the slogan, Kamala Harris is for them and they.
Right.
I'm for you.
Mhm.
America first, right?
Right.
So he got everybody thinking that she want to turn everybody gay, and you know, she all of this other stuff. They letting men
now see,
play
I
women's sports.
didn't know that.
Stupid. Anyway, but the
I
one
voted for her. She was trying to make us gay.
man, which is crazy because that's not true. It's just really free will for you to do what you want to do. God gives us free will. So I mean,
But look what they ran on. They ran on immigrants.
yep,
They ran on trans people.
yep, them and they.
Right. Them and they. No, it's the other. And once you go on, you begin to other and marginalize
Yep.
people, you know, and it appeals to a certain group of people, you know. And I think someone had mentioned, I think Dr. Ward had mentioned this a couple of days ago when he was talking with Michelle, and he pointed out the overwhelming majority of men who fought for the Confederacy did not own slaves. As a matter of fact, some of those men were just barely living above how some of these slaves were living. But when they can appeal to an emotion, and one of those emotions is your clan. And what I mean by your clan is, I try not to use this term race, but once they can appeal to your ethnicity,
Yeah.
because it's always the clan over everything else. Trump has been threatening to send troops into Nigeria because they're slaughtering Christians. That is not true
At all.
What's happening is that they have, Nigeria is to the north, it is Muslim. Center, south is Christian, and then others. And then you have your tribes.
Yeah.
And so these are tribal issues fighting over, who was it? Hoka Baran. This was they were kidnapping women, right? Muslim women. So when people are sitting there, and I think it's the Fulani, and there's another group that has these ethnic tensions, they just happen to be Christian, they just happen to be Muslim, but they said Boko Haram is indiscriminate. It kills Muslims, they kill Christians, they kill animists. So when we hear this about Christians being slaughtered, that's not the case. There's a civil war there, and there's a civil war. Well, I wouldn't say a civil war, but there is a certain instability that's happening in Nigeria. And what is the one thing? First of all, I didn't know there was that many black folks in Nigeria. It's like 220 million.
Yeah.
You know, that's 2/3 of America, you know, in terms of population. But what is it there? Oil.
Exactly. That's what they want.
And that's what they're fighting over, control of the oil and the other resources that the country has. Here's the other thing. Y'all sleeping on this. Brother Ward was right. You need to stay woke. They just set the refugee quota for 2026. The Trump administration has set the refugee quota at 7,500. And the only people going to be eligible for that will be white South Africans.
So they go from 120,000.
Right.
And you know what he's doing? I believe because he was talking about the white people from South Africa that was being persecuted and for their land or whatever the case. I believe he's trying to bring these people in to set up to start a war. This is just what I believe. I believe he wants a race war, man.
No, I mean, the people, You get really frustrated with this. Now, there was, look, in terms of Nelson Mandela, and Nelson Mandela, the one fear that white South Africans had, was if they relinquished power, that the black people would then take vengeance. That didn't happen. 95% of white South Africans have been able to keep their land. They're living the same way they lived prior to Mandela getting out. White folks still control most of the land in South Africa, right? So you have people like, I had a dream I met Elon Musk. What it was that? Maybe the TV was on.
Yeah.
But when you look at the racism is obvious.
Yeah.
You know, like you have a problem with refugees coming from Sudan, refugees coming from some of the Balkan countries, probably Ukraine. I mean, you would have all these refugees who are coming from places, but the only people that you see fit to get in are white South Africans who are not being persecuted. That's part of what makes a refugee a refugee. They're leaving their country, coming here for refuge, right? From the oppression that they're feeling in another country or in their home country. A lot of people were leaving El Salvador, Nicaragua, Honduras, you know, not so much because they wanted to come to America. They came to America to escape the violence and the poverty that they were dealing with in those countries. So it's easy when people go in, and we always say it, both Michelle and I, you know, you have to be careful how you talk about a problem, because all people are going to do is take your rhetoric and then use your rhetoric to justify their aberrant behavior. So we need to be careful. Like we talk about reckless driving. First thing we want to do is say is kids. No. We just had the elderly woman out here in West Dallas, the hit and run.
Yeah.
Reckless driving, y'all. You know, so we need to be woke. We need to be aware of the fact that I'm gonna have to get a real winter coat. Huh?
Man, yeah, it's coming.
The fact that that there were so many people who showed up last night for the event. So many people showed up to vote. Trump was on the ballot. And I didn't realize that Obama lost in his first term almost 60-something seats. So, and you're seeing little anecdotal, again, I can't go on these things because they're more anecdotal, where there were formerly red districts have been flipped to blue. One of the reasons why the Republicans are looking for these additional gerrymandered House seats is that, one, history always says, and for the most part, it has been held up that incoming presidents always lose House seats, especially if they're the majority party, the House seats. But it was something like 64 seats that Obama lost. Oh man, that was, and if people are saying that, if you look at the polling where Donald Trump is closely approaching 60% disapproval, that you know it and why wouldn't are we surprised?
Not at all, man. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we go down as being the worst president in U.S. history.
He was pretty close to it when he left.
So now I'm sure he should be
right.
past the mark, because the stuff he's doing and just the evil mindset he has, like you cutting off machines, you doing all this stuff because you want to get your way.
You know, some folks can't do wrong right.
Yeah, that part.
So he pardoned this Chinese
that he
businessman.
Claimed he didn't know nothing about, that he didn't know.
So they said, if you know anything about it, was it the auto pen? Are you, because you said that's what Joe Biden did. He did auto pens. Were you using an auto pen?
So for you to sign it, you have to look over, unless it just came across your desk and he was like, what they said.
Well, it just so happens that his family is doing business
with Trump,
with this guy's crypto firm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, and Tom Homan, ain't nobody forgot, where the 50 grand?
They trying to sweep it under the rug.
No, we ain't forgotten. So somebody said, do you pay taxes on that 50 grand? He ain't gave the 50 grand back.
Because they was saying, I saw the interview when he was on Fox, and they was asking about the 50 grand. It was like, well, you know, he didn't do anything wrong. He just, you know, they gave him that
They tried to set him up.
Yeah, he didn't. He
It
didn't
ain't a
do
setup
anything
if you
wrong.
don't take the money.
You took it. So
You took it. So, and that because they always talk about what is it? It's enticement, but there's a term that entrapment.
Entrapment. Yeah.
Where they but you
See, but they only really use that for like drug dealers and things like that, because if they come and if you ask them, "Are you the police?" and if they say no,
they can lie.
what if they say no and then you get caught up? You can fight that with that entrapment.
They can't lie with you about a search and seizure. They can't come in your house saying I'm looking for guns without a warrant.
Right.
They might have probable cause, look for a gun, but then they don't have probable cause to search for drugs.
No. No. What I'm saying
because they need a warrant for that specifically.
Right.
In your car.
Yeah.
If they said I'm looking in your car for weapons,
Yeah.
and they find drugs,
Yeah.
no, because the reason for the search
You was looking for weapons.
Now that's
if
called fruit from a forbidden tree.
Yeah. Now, if I'm a drug dealer and you come to buy drugs and I ask you, are you officer? Are you other law? Because you would have to tell me. If not,
That's a myth.
Well, I don't know, because my guy beat a case like that.
He could, but that's a myth. If he did that and then he got in and found the drugs.
No, he actually sold him the drugs.
Right.
But because he asked the officer, and it's on tape. If he's an officer, the
I thought
officer
officers
said no.
could lie.
No, but not in that, because that's when that whole entrapment thing, because that's how his lawyer was able to use the entrapment thing, because they trapped him. Yeah, duh.
He was entrapped.
He was entrapped, right? But yeah. So yeah.
Well, I there's a lot to pay attention to, and I know you get so overwhelmed. All of us get so overwhelmed with all of this stuff, and the way you feel is like it's been 3 years and it's only been 10 months.
It ain't even been a year yet.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, and so you see what people are able to do. Again, there looks to be that there's some people in the House and in the Senate who are trying to figure out. They were going to have to extend those subsidies. The pain caused by looking at people going from maybe paying $50 a month to $1,000.
I got a friend. She told me Saturday. Her Obamacare was $40-something a month. She got the letter Saturday morning saying it was going up to $1,024 a month.
Right.
So she was like, "I'm not going to be able to afford it."
And those letters are going out, and now and then, who? And I had to go out and pull up the poll to see who they're blaming for the shutdown and the whole SNAP benefit that's not going out. But so now you're talking about a total of 64. Talking about 64 million Americans who's either affected by the healthcare piece or affected by the SNAP piece. Not to mention Head Start closing, other things where grants have been held up because you don't have anybody in the office working. You're listening to Community Voice. Our phone line's open, 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Parris.
All right, welcome back. Caller, we thank you for your patience. Welcome to the program. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Again.
Um, I was listening to you just now, and you were talking about the money, and like I told you many times, we have a democracy, we have a plutocracy. This nation was built on dope. In in the 1800s, China was messed over by probably the Western world, Europe and America with opium. They killed out most of the generation with opium. Then, when we got to America, the billionaires, the people who own all the money, got their money from dope. But then, when they cracking down on dope, they go get a few street corner hustlers and lock them up and say, "Fix the problem." We do not have a national debt. We only have people with money and laundered money, not paying taxes, and people with supposedly honest money aren't paying taxes. The poor can't pay taxes. And the stock market is how we judge our economy. And the rich people handle the stock market. They prop it up, and it looks like our economy is good. When it fails, the government bails them out, and the rich people buy treasury bonds, which again is taking money from the government. And that's how we get into the shape we're in. The money is not in the government, it's in the billionaires who run the country. And y'all have a good one.
All right. 414-444-5250. 414-444-5250. Always had the rich, always had the poor. And yeah, I think that's kind of where we are. Again, let me just kind of wrap this up. We need to kind of watch those elections last night were kind of indicators, just the number of people showing up. Again, we saw this happen here in 2017, maybe 2018, but this is an off year election, and the number of people who are showing up to vote, it really does. And I, I just stopped trying to give the devil the benefit of the doubt. The devil is not due the benefit of the doubt, and so if you see what it is, the devil, you smell the sulfur, you see all that, believe it's the devil. I was watching the end of The Usual Suspects, and Keon was always famous for quoting, the greatest trick that the devil ever pulled was to have people believe that the devil doesn't exist. And so when people, and let me say, let me get, because I was making this point. At this point, the Republican Party, the MAGA movement, does not need black folks, right? Certainly in some of these margins, like in Milwaukee, it might, but for the most part, they don't. That's why you see no real representation of people of color other than Indians, Asian Indians, in this administration, because in their minds, their base has a problem with it. But I've said this going back almost 8 years. The base is only 35 to 33%. That means the other 67% of the population is not supportive of what is happening, and certainly not supportive of the president. Again, when his when his unfavorables are up to like 60, 57, 60%. That's high. And that's usually the numbers that you see people leaving office because of either things that have happened. Biden didn't have high favorability when he left office, obviously, because when he left office, we dealt with inflation. But what a lot of people missed was, and I said, and hopefully people get it, the reason for the inflation in the first place was because of COVID, because they wanted to make sure that the economy didn't collapse, and they pumped money into the economy. When you pump a whole lot of money into the economy, at some point, money begins to lose value because it is so readily available. So then what do you have to do in order to bring inflation down? You keep the interest rates high, which means people can't borrow, right? All that is part of the fix. But there are people out there now saying that America probably is in recession. That fear that we were going to go into recession or a downturn during the Biden administration did not come to fruition, even though we dealt with high inflation. But again, there was a reason for why the inflation was so high. And then what do you do when the country has spent all of this money? Then you come in and pass a tax bill. That's why Doge went in. They were looking for ways to cut the cost of government in order to pay for those tax cuts. Now, he said apparently, supposedly the tariffs. But at some point, those tariffs are going to be passed on in terms of prices to consumers. I don't know how the American farmers get back in the Chinese market based on you opening the door for Argentina to get into the market, into that particular market. It's only been 10 months. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning, man. Please.
How you doing?
Pretty good this morning, man. How about yourself?
I was pretty good till I started talking about this nonsense, but
no, it is that, and it probably is ongoing for the whole show if you really wanted to, because it's really that bad. But I'm kind of stay right within that government realm there. The international due process. And I was looking last night at a couple of things, how Trump is orange peel. That's orange peel. How been able to abuse with the military. You think of Yemen, you think of Venezuela, you think of a couple other countries. Then I was kind of backtracking, and those are mostly non-white countries. And what he's basically doing is, and most of them are marginalized people. I mean, it's like, let's take Venezuela, 3.5 million, black folks, but then the majority of them are African descent and that's basically a marginalized culture there. And then the same with Yemen. I'm not I wouldn't want to wake up and be in Yemen, I promise you, because that's kind of a scary place, and they were different. They were Ethiopians, I think, back in the 6th century when they had that war for many, many years in that. But then I was just looking, and he obviously had members from his administration to kind of lay out the geographic on that, and then and basically he's found a way to just kill up a whole lot of black folks without due process throughout the world. Wouldn't you say? Is that fair to say?
Yes, but you need to take a step further. Why?
And that's why I asked you the question, because I can't figure out. Well, racism, of course, is in front, but how is he able to take all these generals and all of these admirals and all these leaders of the armed forces and convince them that this is the right thing to do without some of them? I don't know what kind of,
in the military, you're taught not. I don't know if you did military. I didn't, but I do know.
I did 6 years.
So you don't question an order.
Yes and no. Yeah, right. You're right in a sense, though. But now I don't know now.
Legal orders, but you don't question an order. If they tell you to go up the hill, They just showed Hamburger Hill yesterday. They tell you go
Yeah,
up
man,
that
that was
hill,
deep, and it was true, and
right?
it was
You
real.
go up the hill. You don't question that, especially in a battle, because you can be summarily executed right there on the battlefield,
Right there on the spot.
right? They're not going to give you due
It
process,
happens.
and that's why the question.
But see, go ahead. You go ahead, bud. I'm sorry.
But what I'm saying is that there is a it's called in politics Wag the Dog. I don't know if you've seen the movie Wag the Dog.
I might didn't, but I'm going to just say this: is the Geneva Convention still in effect?
Yeah, but
but it's minimized.
It's not minimized. Who enforces it?
Yeah, right.
And
it can't be enforced.
If
obviously,
Venezuela went to the World Court to complain about what America is doing to its citizens, and I don't know if it's their citizens in international waters, would America even accept or respect the decision if the World Court ruled against America? Answer is no. There are warrants out there for Putin's arrest as a war criminal.
Sure.
Netanyahu as a war criminal.
Long time.
You think that America is going to go and present Netanyahu to the World Court? The answer to the question is no. But get back to Wag the Dog, it becomes a distraction, create a war. Because what you find is wartime presidents are usually not questioned because you're in war. And they're saying, look, you have to take extraordinary actions or means to win a war. So that's where people fall back and then allow. I don't know how anybody could justify one, in most instances, in international waters, which are basically hundreds of miles away from America, and you're assuming that the boats are coming. And then at first they lied and said it was fentanyl, and then somebody pointed out over 90% of the fentanyl comes across the land border, not on water. And then here's my question to the Venezuelans and the Colombians. I'm sure you have some news outlets. If they're blowing up boats, why are you even taking the boats out there?
Well, then you're saying that they in cahoots with, I guess, the cartels.
No,
obviously, they are.
I don't know if they're in cahoots. If
If
Jermaine and I work for a drug cartel, and then it gets back to the drug cartel, they blowing up boats, right? Right. Why
but
would
there's the only means.
If there was even drugs on the boat.
They even hit some under. They hit a couple of them subs that was traveling, through them same waters. But there are some amnesty. I don't know if they tribunes, whatever you call them, but they're different systems that's put in place. Just like when people go to prison, and then you get to different groups that go in there, and they kind of they kind of in the middle where they kind of help them to fight their battles and things of that nature. They have some international groups that I can't think of them right off. I think you know what I'm trying to say. But they kind of help put that out there that this is just wrong as two left shoes, man, in terms of on site, kill them on site. That's what they're doing.
But see, morality, especially when it comes to politics and war, morality is relative. You talked about the Geneva Convention. Well, the reality is during World War II, during Vietnam, the Vietnamese didn't recognize it. America somewhat did. When you think about the number of black POWs who never came home during World War II because the Germans were especially brutal to black American soldiers that were captured. Yeah, I mean but it is a distraction. It's like we're out and we're dealing with these folks. It's like you hear Trump, and what Trump has done, as we get older, we conflate things. Trump is talking about, I don't know if you remember the Marialistas.
Several distractions.
Yeah, do you remember the Marialistas?
No, I don't recall.
Did you see the movie Scarface with Al Pacino?
Of course.
Okay. Those were the Marialistas. Those were
that group, that
Reagan
particular
administration, or either at the end of Carter, but I think at the beginning of the Reagan administration, they were talking about Cuba, and they're trying to isolate Cuba. And they said, look, because, you had that first wave of Cuban refugees that came in the late 50s and the 60s.
Well, let me just say that since you're there, we actually had 10,000 of them Cubans when that Cuban crisis came up in right around 76, 75,
No,
and we
was after
actually
that.
guarded.
No,
Well, let me just
this
say
was
this.
back in the 80s. Fort McCoy.
Fort McCoy, that's right. You're right. It was the 80s because that's when I was
Fort
there.
McCoy.
And we guarded them, man.
Man.
We set up the darn barracks and everything for them people to come in there.
And he was
I
right.
think that was Carter.
They were released from mental institutions. They were criminals.
It was terrible up there, man.
Yeah, because Fidel Castro said, well, if you want them, we'll send you some Cubans. Now, that's what Trump is talking about, because we have not seen anybody else open up their prisons, open up their insane asylums, and put people on boats. That did happen with the Mario Lisa. It's like 81 that happened. So he's conflating that, saying they're opening up and they're sending folks here. The overwhelming number of people who come to America come here to work. They come here for a better life, right? There's not from mental institutions. These are normal people.
I'm assuming that's what statistics say. But it's those. There's a lot of gray areas there. What you just said.
No, it's pretty black and white. I mean, no pun intended.
What country are you talking? Are you talking to Mexicans or
well,
what?
He was saying from Venezuela, and then he gave the number 300,000. There are not 300,000 Venezuelans who come here since Joe Biden. You know, I mean,
he drops everything in Joe Biden's lap. But let me just ask you, what's the difference between auto pen and the manual pen? I heard you mention that earlier. Is there a difference there, or what's going on there?
Auto pen is like the electronic pen. You know, the pen that, I don't know if there's certain documents that if you go in now,
it's like a rubber stamp, or what happens?
Yeah, you do it on your phone. But if there's a contract, when I was selling my mom's condo,
like that. You saying it like that?
Auto pen.
I thought he just was passing everything came across his desk when you talk about. I thought
if they sent out a letter, let's say they sent out 5,000 letters to that's going to be auto pen. He's not signing all 5,000 letters. You know, they send correspondence from the White House every day. That's all people do. You have people, their whole job is constituent service to respond to letters that they receive. So yes, you use an auto pen because it's coming. I'm writing that letter. It's like when I would have to, as a manager, have to respond to something, a constituent concern or complaint, and it would come from the director's office.
I've done those many times.
Right. It would come from the director's office. I would write it. Okay. And then I would then.
And you're a mass producer
to write to sign it. Joe Biden doesn't write letters. I mean, if he does, then it's probably his personal kind of thing. No, you're talking about the White House does all kind of correspondence, right? They're responding. So the question he was saying or asking was, well, did he use auto pen to pardon people? It doesn't really matter because when you look at the number of people that are going, and it wasn't valid.
Well, but man, how much of the information or the chronological information do you get on that person before you just go ahead and sign them off just because they're white?
Well, it's supposed to be, but the pardon piece has always been problematic. It goes, as far as I can remember certain part. Well, let's start with Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford pardoned Richard Nixon, right?
Well, he probably had no other choice.
Bill Clinton
had been on the platter.
Well, Bill Clinton pardoned Mark Rich. So there were people where there were always these questionable pardons. Now, what's supposed to happen is the Justice Department is supposed to go in and vet. I know there are people who have applied for presidential pardons, and the amount of vetting that goes in, the FBI comes out to interview you. The FBI comes out to interview other people who can either support that pardon request. So that's how it normally should work. But then you can't tell me that Trump signed every one of those pardons that went out to the January 6th rioters. It was auto pen.
Auto pen. I'm with you on that.
All right,
I agree.
Let me do this, man. I got one more call. I got a guest coming.
Okay, let me just ask you this real quick question. That this is right in your scope here. I got a family member. Typically, 17% goes to child support from fathers, right, or whoever.
One child.
Is that typically,
for one child?
Okay, so if there's another child by another woman, would that be 34% of their wages?
It would be 17%. 17% of what's left.
17% of what's left
of your income, right?
Okay, if there's 2 kids, then it only can max out at 17
No, if it's 2 kids, it's
of different women.
Different. Well, then it's 17 for that one, and then 17 for the other.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
But
Thank you, my brother.
All right, it's not
Okay.
an aggregate though. What they're doing is now, and then a lot of times it might be a little bit less than 17%, because the people that we're dealing with in child support usually don't have a lot of money.
Okay, so there's modifications that's in place, right?
Modification is now that you requested a new hearing to look at the order. To modify the order is obviously to change the order, and only the courts can change that order. That's why you have to petition the court.
Thanks for your time, my brother. Y'all have a good day up in there.
Yep.
Bye now.
Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Yes, good morning to you, sir. How you doing?
I'm all right.
Yeah, I've been listening to you, and I'd just like to comment on a statement that you made. You were talking about how Trump didn't call the sister out in Virginia. I mean, didn't call her name out in that. See, what we have to realize is that every fight, some fights you can't go to. Now, he might have called her on the phone. We don't know that. But I do know this right here. Had he addressed her, she probably would, came out and endorsed her, she probably would have lost by a large number.
She did lose by a large number.
Yeah, but I'm talking about bigger than that. See, what's happening is we had a sister, man, a black lady that was running for that position. And that go to show me that them Negroes don't care about, if something happened to me or something, I'd be here today and gone tomorrow. Just like the brother that got killed over there on Humboldt. That was his little shop over there. And he was out and he was fellowshipping for Donald Trump. And I use this story all the time because he was also pushing for Lena Taylor. And he had Lena Taylor on one side and he had Trump on the other side because he figured that they were.
Yeah, well, a broken clock can be right twice a day.
Okay, well, anyway, what they did is the guy went up and shot the man and killed him. And because of his political views, I guess.
So what are you saying, that black folks should have supported Winsome?
Yes, they should have.
Based on all the policy positions, she's MAGA, and black folks should support her?
Yeah, I think they should have, because
even though everything she does is, I shouldn't say everything, but certainly she was not necessarily for black folks. She had issues with the Voting Rights Act. She had all kinds of things that would have a negative impact on black folks. She's part of the MAGA movement. So you're saying that black folks should have voted for her?
Let me say this to you. It sends a message. We are right now trying to reorchestrate where we've been used and abused at in certain arenas. So we're really in a new shaping mode, and we're not doing a very good job of it because it's people like your generation, my generation, our generation, I should say, that is not willing to send a message. Now look what they did in New York. They got that Muslim guy out there in New York, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
If he won, that was New York. I couldn't vote for him.
Okay, but you have an opinion in your heart that, oh boy, or you might be.
He wasn't Eric Adams. He wasn't Curtis Sliwa, and he wasn't Andrew Cuomo. So if you ask me, out of that group, who I would say, yeah, in my mind, the best candidate won.
In your mind, the best candidate won.
You asked me my opinion,
and I respect it, and that shows where we are as a country, where we are as black folk anyway.
No, and here's and I got to go because I got a guest. Let me say this: that he won that primary without significant black support. So, and I'm sure that a lot of people end up lining up going to vote for him. I think he ended up winning by about 9 percentage points. At one point in the polling, he was up by 18 points.
Hey man, I gotta say this, and I know you got a guest coming. I hope New York get what they got coming, so this can be a prime example. We got to see a big volley go on. I want to see it. I want to see what really happens here. I'm not for socialism, bro, because socialism in its raw form cancels out me and your opinion on what we desire to have. If socialism really get going around here, brother, we all be wearing black suits and little white ties.
That genie's out the bottle, man. All right, appreciate you,
You know,
Meech. Hey, you're listening to Community Voice. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. And as I had alluded to in the first hour, we're joined by Miss Diane Beckley Milner, the Alzheimer's. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yes.
Because I had a coworker. Her last name was Alzheimer. Actually, that was her last name. It was a black woman too.
Interesting.
Yeah, Gwen.
Okay.
But she's here with the Alzheimer's Association. How are you?
I
Welcome
am
back.
wonderful. Thank you so much for
You
having me.
did tell
today.
me Saturday night, or Friday night? Saturday
Yes.
night?
Saturday night.
Yeah. So I'll see you. I'm like, oh, okay. Good, good, good,
Happy to
good.
be here.
It was good to
Yes.
be here. I know that you all have an event coming up. So share with us that caring for the caregiver.
Absolutely. So yes, each year, this first of all, this is Caregiver Month. November is Caregiver Month, and so each year on in during the month of November, we like to basically surround our caregivers with a month of caring for them. So basically, this is the fourth year that I've done this, and the Alzheimer's Association creates a day of caring for our caregivers. This year, we've titled it Caring for the Caregiver, Empowering Caregivers Because You Are Loved. And it's going to happen on Saturday, November 8th, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's our opportunity to um, empower them with information, with resources, with gifts. We have door prizes throughout the day. We have a gift bag that's chock full that they'll go home with in the evening. And this year, really interestingly, we had one of our partners connect us with a donor who has sent us boxes of brand new clothing items. So it's going to be phenomenal to be able to gift our caregivers with outfits or clothing, pieces of clothing that they can choose themselves to take home with them at the end of the day. So we're excited about all of the things. There'll be massages. There will be chair yoga, and body yoga is going to come and do chair yoga with us to help our caregivers get moving. We have on site respite, so our caregivers can bring the person that they're caring for, and we have a separate room set up that will be very comfortable for their loved one to be well cared for by professional caregivers so that they can just take time out for themselves. The idea is self care is care. We can't give from an empty cup.
Hmm.
So that's basically what it's all about. We want our caregivers to step back for a moment and just focus in on themselves. Is there information that you need? We have a speaker that will be talking to them about their Medicare choices. So if our caregivers are over 65, the open enrollment for Medicare is right now. So we want them to be informed. Again, that part of empowerment. We want them to get the information they need to make the proper choices, changes, or stay the same with their Medicare selections. But empowerment, information is key. We also will have someone talking about Medicaid if that applies to them.
And I know we had talked about this in the past. What was your experience dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia?
I was a family caregiver for my mother. My mother developed Alzheimer's while I was living in the Twin Cities. I lived there for 30 years, went there to go to college, and really had set up my home in the Twin Cities, visiting, of course, to check on mom, but discovered that she was starting to forget things, and people were calling me and saying she missed this appointment, she did this, she did that. And of course, as a long distance caregiver, you say, well, mom forgets things, but she's okay because you're talking to her and she knows the routine. She knows how to talk to you so that you don't catch on. But I really did. She ended up having a surgery that was very serious, and after the surgery, I could tell that there was a diminished faculties going on there. So I made the decision to move home and care for her myself because nobody can take care of mom like you can. I brought my 3-year-old son. So I was basically what's called a sandwich generation caregiver. So I had my son at 3 years old, and I had my mother who was in her 80s, and I was stuck in the middle, taking care of them, caring for everything from the hair on their head to their toenails.
Uh, the So you understand the importance of respite
Definitely. Oh my goodness, do I ever.
and caregiver support.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you have to do that. You have to be intentional. And back then we didn't have all of the wonderful things that are available on the buffet of services for our caregivers that we have now. So we have support groups, and we have a wonderful support group that is under the umbrella of the Alzheimer's Association that is multicultural. That is wonderful. It's virtual. They don't have their cameras on, so they can be themselves. They can cook dinner while they're talking to one another, and they can support one another. And this is wonderful.
And you talked about your mom had surgery.
Right.
Sometimes what can, or let me ask, can certain traumatic things like surgery, serious illness really contribute to acceleration of dementia?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we always talk about dementia as being an umbrella term.
Mhm.
And underneath that umbrella, there are so many types of memory concerns. And you're absolutely correct. Someone can have a stroke and have dementia after the stroke. Someone can have a fall and end up with a little bit of dementia after a fall. There's Lewy body dementia, frontal temporal lobal dementia, all kinds of things that can affect our memory. Some of them are permanent, and some of them are fleeting. Alzheimer's is the most prevalent type of dementia. That's why our organization is called the Alzheimer's Association. But yeah, an illness can definitely set off a dementia.
Yeah, because they they were saying my mom had a medical episode,
Mhm.
and they said we would never get back. She has really bounced back,
Yes.
but the time is still, the clock is still ticking, and so as we get older, dementia or memory loss or memory impairment just becomes a part of our lived experience.
Exactly.
And some
Exactly.
people, probably not. And I think with all the research we see going on now, at least we have a better understanding of it.
Right.
And I like when you said that we can go in and obviously get the care and the support that we need. But people get burned out after a while, especially if you have to if it's intense where it requires a lot of care. At a point, what we used to call it, compassion fatigue.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
You get tired.
It does. And again, that's why we want to surround our caregivers and make sure that they understand we're here for you. You don't have to do this alone. Uh, get yourself in the company of others who are like-minded, who are going through this journey as well with their family members, having those support groups and being able to, and it's amazing when you listen to a support group and how they jump in and they help one another. Well, this is what I did with my mother. This is what I did with my father. This might help you, or let us help you. Let us talk to you. Those kinds of things. Reach out. We have an 800 helpline that is 24/7. And it's in 72 different languages. You can call that helpline on Christmas, New Year's Eve, whatever. If you just need to talk, call that helpline. If you need to sign up for our program on November 8th, call that helpline, 800-272-3900. That will connect you and get you registered for our program that's happening on Saturday in Milwaukee or any place else in the United States that's having a program that you want to sign up for. That helpline can help you to get connected to any Alzheimer's Association activities. Whether it's education, we have education programs going on virtually and in person all the time. So that information is available to you.
When Dr. Easter was on, he talked about when he was dealing with, I think, his mom.
Yes.
He was saying that there wasn't a lot, the level of support that we see now.
Wasn't there before.
Was it there when you?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely not. I think that when I called the Alzheimer's Association, finding them in the yellow pages, not online like we can do now, when I found them.
Pretty close to 20th century, wasn't it?
Long time ago.
I know you say yellow pages. People are like, whoa.
Let your fingers do the walking.
Let your fingers do the walking. We actually called, he called the time number.
Okay.
And the time number is also the weather.
Oh.
Because remember, I know back in the day, I know you used to do it, man. We call the time, call the weather, 'cause I
especially daylight saving times. You got to
Yes.
get the right time.
I was so thrown off, man. I got up and I turned on. I watch Michelle.
Oh, sure.
So I go in and I'm not even looking at the clock. I'm not looking at my body clock says,
Right.
It's 7:00. I go in, I don't see anything because we go see WNOV. I don't see anything. I'm going, oh man, something must have happened to Michelle. Then I looked at my phone. It's like, dude, it's 6:00. It's not 7. But I was your body has to catch up
It
with
has
that,
to
man.
catch up.
That's
it.
and I think that we part of, again, there's a lot of research going on out there in terms of how we deal with this dementia and all its associated stages and manifestations. But until then, we still have to provide care for our loved ones.
Absolutely. And, the statistics show that this disease hits Black Americans 2 times harder than it does our white counterparts. Surprise. Absolutely. And unfortunately, oftentimes in our Black American families, they don't see this as a disease. They oftentimes think that it's just a normal part of aging. And it definitely is not. And until you see it as a disease, you're not going to get diagnosed. You're not going to put the support around it that you need to have for both you and the person who's living with the disease. And you're not going to take the necessary steps to be prepared for the next stage. And that's so important, especially right now, because we're in an era of treatment. And while we're in this era of treatment, there are treatments for the first time in over 40 years that can actually treat the disease versus treating the symptoms of the disease. When my mother had the disease, she had treatments or medicines that could treat the symptoms, whether it was anxiety or depression or things like that. Now we can actually stave off the onset of the stages of the disease. So there's not a cure, but we are far beyond where we were 25 years ago when I was caring for my mom.
And I think the ultimate cure would be then we don't die. And I'm just saying,
the ultimate
when we get
cure.
to aging,
yes, I'd like to get to that stage where I don't have a job because there's no more Alzheimer's. Yeah.
When you I'm more mindful of my mortality now than I was yesterday.
Oh yeah, we get to that third quarter. We're like, oh, okay.
And I go like, and I say it is funny because every day, at some point, something will hit me and say, "You're going to die."
Right. Yes.
I don't know if you've had that,
Sure.
but it hits me, and not that it was anything imminent. It is just the actuary. I'm going to die.
There you go.
Everybody dies.
Everybody goes.
Everybody goes.
That's right. That's right.
And so, you look at it, but until then, then the quality of life becomes more of an issue than, when we were in our 20s, when we thought we were going to live forever.
Right.
And then one day you look up and all these things, little subtle things, like you start getting ARP cards, and inquiries.
Or every time you turn around, you're at a funeral. Every week.
And because of one of my vocations,
right?
You're right in terms of, but the one thing is, and maybe, and I'm only doing this overarch everything in terms of practically what we do, but your mindset is real important too, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Where your mental state is in all of this. And so I say that where you're looking at your mom and you remember your mom when she was very different than what she is now.
Absolutely.
And you're trying to reconcile that. So I think one of the things that's really helped me, and again, my mom is not dealing with Alzheimer's, she's dealing with a certain level of just age-related dementia. That's the difficult thing. You need to understand that certain things, they say, well, she can't do this. Well, she's at the age where, okay, she's not sprinting anymore, right? And
Absolutely.
So now you have to adjust. My mindset has to adjust.
Absolutely.
And certainly when they can still communicate what they're feeling and experience.
Right.
But in the disease gets so bad they can't even do that.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. And, and the thing is, everybody wants to be viable. Even with my mother in her 80s with her dementia, if I was cooking and I had a pot of greens, I'd take that pot of greens into her and let her pick the greens and before I get ready to wash them or whatever. And she'd fuss, oh, why I have to do this? You're supposed to be the one cooking. She wanted to do it. She wanted to
But
be.
she recognized.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So you don't want to just take them out the game.
Right.
You want to give them something to do, something that works for them so that they feel like they're contributing. And that's what we do. And that's what we encourage our caregivers to do at home. One of the experiences that we have at the event that we're doing on Saturday, we have what's called a Dementia Live experience.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, Dementia Live is it's I guess just a symbolism of what people who have dementia are going through. And as Dr. Easter always puts it, they're not giving you a hard time, they're having a hard time. So our caregivers will be outfitted with a headset, glasses, gloves, so that they can really understand what does it feel like when I'm trying to pick up a pencil and my fingers can't feel the touch. Or what does it sound like when somebody's giving me instructions and it's all muffled, or what is it like when I'm trying to read the words on the paper, on the note that my daughter left me, and all the words are scrambled. I can't read it. So they're getting that experience. And sometimes they'll come out of that Dementia Live simulation and they will be in tears because they didn't understand how hard it was for their loved ones to grasp what they were trying to get them to do.
Do you think that part of it is also, again, I said this earlier, so it makes us a little bit more mindful of our aging?
It does. It does. And it makes us also more mindful of taking care of our brain. It breaks my heart when I see a motorcycle person out there with no helmet on.
Yeah.
And even a bicyclist, or when I gave my grandkids skateboards, I gave them the helmet and the knee pads and all of that and said, if you're not going to use these things, then let's take the skateboard back to the store. I know it looks funny, but protect your brain. You're too young to have a brain injury.
Yeah, you hear all these people out here talking about you're making them soft. You know how many of them run around here probably with all kind of brain damage that we had because we was on skateboards and bikes without.
And I don't know if pediatricians still do it, but I know when my son was coming up, he had he fell at Pettit Ice Arena and had a concussion. And the pediatrician immediately did a brain scan and kept it on record. And then if he had another injury, she could compare it. I don't know if they still do that, but I think it makes a difference.
Well, and how many of us who have dealt with concussions? I've had 2.
Absolutely.
That I can remember.
I know I've had at least 1.
Yeah, that I can remember. We don't think about, just what concussive brain injury can do long term.
Long term.
They were talking about ALS, which we call Lou Gehrig's disease,
right? Right.
And they were trying to figure out how to get. Well, when you go back and you actually look at Lou Gehrig, he had so many concussions. And then they talked about how European soccer players will get it because of just hitting the ball. So you're right in terms, because that brain is in there moving around. It's really easily damaged.
Absolutely.
We have a caller.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm so glad you guys are talking about the death syndrome and how you feel. You are not alone, Keith. I think I'm gonna die every day. Shut up. I know we all dying.
I hate to break it to you.
Yeah, newsflash, huh?
As the president said, people died who've never died before.
But really, I thought something was wrong with me because I had a huge family.
Okay.
My first cousin, it was 11 of them. Now there's only 1 left. Wow. And I said, my God! And out of all the first cousins that's older like myself, it's only 6 of us first cousins left. So we just don't even do family reunions no more because everybody has died out. And I every day now. I just lost my son. He died of lung cancer. I just buried him this past Thursday.
Sorry to hear that.
And I said, oh, he's always telling me, Ma, this world is getting so bad. Me and you ain't gonna be in there. I said, boy, don't be trying to carry me with you.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. And my poor baby gone now. I said, maybe he's right. Maybe
Black
I'm
folks
dead.
really subscribe to David Clayman. I don't know. It is gonna be. Have you dealt with in your family? Has anyone dealt with dementia or dealt with?
Well, I
Alzheimer's?
had an aunt that had dementia. She could not remember nobody but me.
Okay.
She didn't even realize her own daughter, but she always knew me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only one I know of. But I had friends that had parents that died from dementia.
Okay.
And I've always prayed, God, please don't let me have that, because it's bad when you don't know who people are, and it's really bad when you don't know who you are.
Well, you know
So
what we at one of those testimonies we had at church. He woke me up this morning, closed in
Yeah.
my right mind.
Yeah. All that kind of stuff.
That's right.
And so I always
true.
think that I'm going to
Thank
die.
God for that, man. Frank Johnson, the late Frank Johnson, said, "Thank you that I didn't put my shirt on as pants and then put my pants on as a shirt."
Yeah, ain't that something?
Right. So, and it was something Diane was saying, that how we should be really mindful of our brain health, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Not so much your mental health, but what's happening with your brain and all those things that can impact on it. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll holler at you later.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, that.
Another component of that is the whole stress factor.
Mhm.
As caregivers, they're always worried, well, if mama had it, am I going to have it? But just the fact of caring for mama could throw you into that that dementia, because you have to step back from time to time. You have to give yourself a break.
Mhm.
And I did this caring for my mother. I did this without knowing what I was doing. But one of the things that I did, and I think I did it more for my son than I did for my own self-care, but because he was so small and I knew that I needed some true mommy and me time with him, my mother, I enrolled her in adult daycare.
Okay.
So 2 days a week, I would let her go to daycare. Of course, he was going to preschool and nursery school and all those kinds of things. But that would be the day that I could level set for myself. I could step back, take a breather. I could do things around the house that she would unnerve her, like run the air conditioner. She would unplug it. Or run the vacuum clean. She didn't like the sound of it. So I could level set. Or when they were both out, I could decorate the house. And when they came home, the Christmas decorations would be up, or different things like that, or cook a special meal, or just stop and go to a movie, or go to the rep for their midday plays or something like that. I knew that I had to take care of myself to stabilize, to center, to be focused, and to not be so full of stress. So I don't know how innately I knew that, but I did it for myself. And that's what we are encouraging our caregivers to do. We have the 10 signs of caregiver stress: the denial, anger, social withdrawal. I did that because I didn't have a social network. I moved home to take care of mama, and I hadn't been here for 30 years. So I didn't have a social network outside of my church. And so I was withdrawn socially, but I eventually started building that network up. Anxiety is real prevalent. My doctor at the time wanted to put me on antidepressants because he could tell that I was anxious, and it's like, no, I got my Bible. That'll be my determining factor.
Well, and the one thing about human beings is we like to control.
Yeah,
And one of the stressors in life is things we cannot control.
definitely.
Yet we want to try to control it.
Definitely.
And I think that that's probably the same thing we're looking at our loved one. Is I want to be able to, sometimes it's out of your hands.
It is totally out of your hands. We have in the dementia world, we have what's called sundowning. And that if you experience sundowning with a person with dementia, you realize that you are not in control. Because if you can remember caring for a toddler when they get super tired and you're trying to get them to go to bed at night or take a nap, and they're wired. They cannot settle down, and they're crying, and they want a cookie, and they want a cracker, and they want this and they want that, and their head hurts. And adults go through the same thing. That sundowning
But
is,
sooner or later, nature gonna take over.
there you go.
They're gonna be knocked
There
out.
you go.
Then they get in that coma sleep. Like, oh, couldn't get you to sleep. Now I can't get you to wake up.
Go to bed.
I cut you off when you're doing your point.
No,
So,
that's okay. I mean, other symptoms of caregiver stress, which is a very real diagnosis, is depression, exhaustion, sleeplessness, the irritability. Your personality almost changes when you're in the midst of doing this heavy duty work. Lack of concentration, so forgetting to pay bills, doing things like that, and then health problems. So many of our caregivers have had to step back from caregiving altogether, or they've um, left this earth in the midst of caregiving because they've ignored some of the signs and symptoms of their own comorbidities: high blood pressure, prostate disease. My cousin missed the signs of breast cancer, um, and it took her out. And she was caring for her father. She was focused in on that and really missed the signs of her breast cancer that reoccurred after 10 years, which probably was brought on by stress. So, yeah, we have to pay attention.
caring for the caregivers. Tell us the time, the date, location.
The time is 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's an all-day event. Doors open at 9:30. We are at a new location. I've done this for 4 years, and each year we have to move to a larger location because our crowds get bigger
And
and
remember
bigger.
when you showed me that before we came on the air, say that's a good thing, right?
That is a good problem to have. I love it. I thank the Lord for that. So this year we're going to be at IPAMA, the Institution for the Preservation of African American Art and Music, and it's on the Holy Redeemer campus. It sits right outside the campus on 32nd and Hampton. Beautiful location. Get there early. Parking is limited. Get there early. Get there early. Get you a good seat. It's absolutely totally free. We're asking that people register. And since I'm on the phone, I'll give you our 800 number so that you can register. And that's 800-272-3900. Again, that number to register is 800-272-3900. Or you can go to Eventbrite. If you're computer savvy or technology on your phone savvy, go to Eventbrite. You can register right through Eventbrite as well.
And tell us who your supportive partners are in this endeavor.
We are thankful for our partners. We do this in partnership with the C.H. Mason Clinic right there at the Holy Redeemer campus and St. Mark AME Church, who is one of our national partners. We also have sponsors. Helen Bader has been a phenomenal partner and sponsor with us from inception of this event. The Milwaukee County Department of Aging and Disability Services, very long name for a very big organization. They have been partners with us since the inception of Caring for the Caregiver. U.S. Bank has partnered with us this year. The Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute, they're like our sister organization. So we support one another out here in the community, as they say, out here in these streets. We make sure that people are covered. And then Legacy Home and Respite Care Foundation Incorporated. They are phenomenal partners with us, and they are the ones that will be providing the respite care for your loved ones. So if you've ever dealt with Legacy, you know they are top-notch professionals. They also are the ones that do our multicultural support group on Wednesday evenings from 5 to 6 p.m. So come out this Saturday, November 8th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., caring for the caregiver, empowering caregivers because you are loved.
Ms. Diane Milner, as always, I'll tell you off the air what came to my mind when I heard you read that. No, I'm going to tell you on the air.
Uh-oh.
The first time Diane came here, she was so nervous. I don't know. I don't know. And her husband, obviously great broadcast. He understood. Does it sound like?
Not at all.
She
Sound like she's a professional.
Yeah, she a professional.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you,
Again,
guys.
Give us that number again. People want to register.
Okay, please register. 800-272-3900. Again, 800-272-3900. if you want to go on the website and look at our website, it's alz.org/Wisconsin. You can register through the website as well. But 800-272-3900, that's the easy way. Also, if you have Eventbrite on your phones, go to Eventbrite and register. The idea is come and bring somebody. Even if you're not a caregiver now, you may be before it's all over, or you may have friends and families that are. So come, bring someone.
Thank you. The Caring for the Caregivers event this Saturday at IPAMA, 3200 West Hampton Avenue, from 10 to 3. She's giving you the information. And I think we'll probably, I don't know if we'll have it up from time to time on our screen for those people watching us on YouTube and Facebook. Okay, thank you, man. You're listening to Community Voice. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
with your host, Keith Parris.
Hi, welcome back. No, I remember the first time she came on, she was really, really, really nervous, and now she a champ.
Yeah, Doc, she flew through it.
It's when people who will come in to do radio now, it's a little bit different because we still do some video, but when people would come in and they do radio, first they act like, they can't get him up to the mic, looking like Ricky Bobby, don't know what to do with his hands with the mic. And they're about 10 minutes into it, and then all of a sudden the comfort level that people have, where now, just because look, until recently nobody could see you anyway,
right?
So to be able to get out and to do it, it does. But yeah, I've had that, and I don't know, it hits me every day that I had that moment where I understand the actuary that I'm gonna die. And it's not at funerals. I don't feel it at funerals. But it's just in that quiet moment when I'm by myself and I go like, I'm gonna die.
Well, yeah, sometimes you can find yourself. Well, I know for me, when I go to these funerals and play at the funerals and see the families and things like that, it do cross your mind. But sometimes though we feel like we are entitled to life, like we supposed to wake up every day because we've been doing it for 40, 50, 60, 70 some years, that we supposed to.
But that gets you up in the morning too, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a reason to get up,
of course
you're gonna get up. And that's what happens sometimes with folks when they just don't have that reason, and then it's almost like this term they talk about, this failure to thrive, where so it gives me meaning. I understand. I'm really somewhat sympathetic when you look at folks and you kind of go like, you probably need to step away from that.
Mm-hmm.
But what they're getting from it, they still have meaning. They still have purpose.
Yeah.
Here's the reality. If I was trying to immigrate from another country into America, I wouldn't get in because America's not going to benefit unless I was rich for me coming. Right. So you look at, I had preached the last message I preached at Zion Hill was the importance of the torch that we pass on. And I said, and the analogy I used was this relay race. You have this period in a relay race, the pass, what would you call it? The pass zone, the passing zone.
Yeah.
And so you can't pass it before you get in the zone.
Yeah.
And if you pass it once you get out the zone, you're disqualified. Or if you mishandle it in the zone,
you're disqualified.
And part of mishandling a lot of times is holding on.
Yeah.
When you really need to let go.
I like that, man.
And so and it was something that the sister who was the keynote speaker for the NAACP said that, look, you can't pass the torch on and you won't let it go.
Right.
And so for a lot of people, doing what they do, give them meaning, give them purpose, and maybe just being able to find things or other things to say that you're purposeful. One of the things I look at is, have I had any impact in this world?
Yeah.
When Jesus said you are the salt of the earth, do you make things better? Do I make things better? And then there's sometimes I'm just mindless. Like, Diane was saying, sometimes, dude, I didn't want to watch the news. Once I saw what was happening with the election, because now it's in a loop. They're just repeating themselves.
And it's playing on your mind,
anxiety,
to the point that you're worrying,
stress,
you're stressing yourself out, and you're killing. And that reminds me of when
some stuff you can't even change.
Yeah, and that reminds me, and that's important. The importance of one, being strong in your faith, and having someone to talk to share. Because when I was going through my medical stuff, when they told me I had cancer, the first thing they said to me over the phone was, now we have a priest that you can come talk to. Do you have anybody to talk to? And I thought about that, like the importance of keeping a strong mind and to have the will to keep going is important, because once you say to yourself, it's over, I give up, then everything else fall in line with what you just said.
But human will, and there has to be a balance. I was watching a documentary they did on veterans and all these different veterans, different wars.
Right.
And there was the guy who was in OCS, Officer Candidacy School, and there's a physical fitness portion of the test that you have to pass. And I think it was like run a mile in X, whatever the distance was at X amount of time. And the first 2 or 3 times he did it, he get to this point where it was too painful.
Yeah.
He couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
He quit.
Right.
Came down to this is his last shot. And if he don't get it now, he basically flunks out of OCS.
Yeah.
And he said, what I discovered, even in that instance, was the human will and how strong the human will is.
And that's true, because and I know you can speak from this. Being in basketball practice, right? Say like your practice start at 4 and it's over with at 6:30 or so. And you're practicing, you're tired, you like, man, we running these suicides, I'm tired. But when they tell you this is your last one, if you finish in time, everybody can go home. You find that deep down will to press through and say, hey, I'm gonna finish it. Even though you was tired, you find energy from somewhere to finish it out, because you were saying to yourself, I'm tired, I wish this was over. But now that you hear this is the last one, now you got that energy left. Okay, man, I'm gonna give it all I got because this is the last one. Some way, somehow you find that energy that was really always there, but you suppressed it by your thoughts of saying, I'm tired, I want to give up.
The human will, man, that's because it is so intrinsically human to survive.
That part.
Survive.
Yeah, it's survival mode.
Right. And I point out, so when you talk about all these viruses in the world, they're trying to survive.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the same thing with us, that when we really put it on survival mode, that's why people get through, and you're going like, how did you get through that?
Yeah.
Man, because but that human will, never underestimate what America did. The mistake that America made, of many mistakes they made when they went into Vietnam, they didn't realize the Vietnamese people's will not to be oppressed by anyone. And when you have that level of will,
that you're willing to do whatever,
take whatever, and and I'm telling you, we do it. You know, like you can be on a mission.
Yeah, that's true, man. That's true.
I'll be real simplistic on it, man. Back when, we used to get, those little sacks, and you drive to this spot.
Oh yeah.
Dry.
Yeah.
This
Go to this spot.
Dry.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, especially, and I thought it was a myth, but it was true. My buddies out in DC used to say, hey Keith, we need to go and handle by the weed now.
Because it's dry.
Because when election time comes,
drought season,
it dry. It dry. And I never thought about it, but it's like, try to find some around election time.
Yeah, and especially back in the night. I remember that back in the 90s.
In the 80s.
In the 80s too, but I remember that drought that came through around 93, 94. When that real huge drought came through. And people was like, listen, because it was only like a select amount of a good strand that was available. But there was like, you're going to have to get it before they hold the elections, because once the elections come through, they shut down everything.
3-4 times they shut down everything. And I used to hear that, and then I'm going like, and then that's when you really driving from spot
to spot.
Spot.
I ain't got nothing. I'm dry.
I'm dry, man. It's dry out here, man. But and that shows you that you really can't control. Access.
That part.
So when we talk about the so-called war on drugs, that's all relative, because and then look, let's just be honest, the drug that's really doing the most damage in the society is perfectly legal, alcohol.
And that's what's really killing folks.
Let me thank Miss Diane Milner. Let me thank Debo.
Yes, sir.
Let me thank Jermaine.
Thank you, sir.
Clark, I know you back. Gone again.
The headphones on or something.
Oh man.
Hey, but question, what you thinking Debo for, man? Debo didn't do nothing but push buttons over there.
Hey, that's an
What,
art.
what do you do?
Hey, man,
Clark.
don't hate on me,
Clark,
man.
he was talking to you, man.
Don't hate on me.
He was
Hey,
thanking
man,
you,
thank you, man.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all, the good Lord willing, the creek don't rise. No, thank you. We
No,
sounded
thank you.
like, no, we
Thank
sounded like
you.
Chip and Dale.
Right.
You remember
Right.
Chip and Dale?
Thank you. No, thank you.
Before you. No.
No, by all means, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chip and Dale.
No,
Chip
that
and
was the
Dale.
show.
What are we thanking Jermaine for?
I don't know, but thank him anyway.
Just thank the boy anyway. Let's get out of here. Hey, y'all, the good Lord willing, creek don't rise. Hope to talk to everybody tomorrow. And as always, go from this place in peace.